Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of inspiration and self-growth. But it's also about connection and knowing that you are not alone. Each week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, someone I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so grateful for my guests. Their openness and their vulnerability, it is unmatched as we share heartfelt conversations together about both their challenges and their triumphs. I hope that you can grab some inspiration and connection from my guests and their stories. I know I certainly have with each conversation. What an honor to sit with these brave souls. Everyone has a story, folks, and every story matters. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. I am so glad you've chose to join us today. My name is Dawn, and I'm extremely excited to get to virtually see this awesome guest of mine, Charlsey Etheridge, hailing from North Georgia, but now in Nashville, Tennessee. And we were just talking before I hit the record that it's likely been about 10 years since we've actually seen each other face to face in human form, like flesh.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy because I consider you such a friend. So I can't believe that it's been that long.
I know. And it just shows you how time it's a thief. Like it goes so quickly.
Ooh, the older I get, the more that is true.
Right? Time marches on. I heard that the other day. That old sings that song, Time Marches On.
I know exactly the song.
Tracy Bird, Time Marches On.
Yep.
Yeah. That should be my anthem. I feel like it's right now. Anyway.
Time.
Yes.
You can listen to it.
Charlsey, I'm so glad you're with us today. I want to kind of just do a quick little introduction of you. You are a singer-songwriter here in Nashville. Like I said, you came from North Georgia. Music has been in your life for a very long time, and I can't wait to hear how you kind of got that start. So we'll go into that in depth a little bit more. You hail as an American artist, kind of along the mainstream of country, but you call yourself an American artist. I think that's very true. If I listen to your stuff, you're very grassroots type of writer, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's very grounding kind of music for me, and it's very real. And I love a songwriter that can tell a story from that really grounded position. And you do a great job of that. So,
well, thank you. That means a lot to me. It really does.
Oh, well, it's a gift. I think that anybody, and I've talked to a few different songwriters recently, and then I'm like, it's such a gift to be able to take like a large story. I call it a large story, and I just talk in paragraphs. I can't talk in like a single sentence.
Edit.
Right? Yes. We were just talking about like digital editing before we hit the record too. I can't, like, both of them are just mind blowing to me. Yeah. Edit, like shrink all that down. But I really think it's a gift to be able to take all of that story and be able to like basically shrink it down into like a 2 to 4 minute like entourage of this really beautifully pieced together melody and story. And it really be meaningful. So songwriting, such a gift. And you do a great job of it. Absolutely. A great job of it. Yeah.
Thank you. And I tend to agree with that statement that, I think a lot of the arts, not just songwriting, but music, whether it's, playing the piano or singing or drawing or painting or anything like that. I definitely think there is such you say a gift. I think there is a huge spiritual component about all of that,
totally.
I can't 100%, I don't think, take credit for, I think there's an inspiration. I guess a catalyst is more like the term for, what happened.
Yeah. I like that. You're a catalyst for that. Yeah. And in that, that's your gift. That's what that's been put in you when you came into this life, basically. Yeah. That's spiritual. And that you have to have that spiritual connection, I think, on a really intricate level to be able to access that too. So yeah, bravo for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I say that because I feel like to get to that point where you're comfortable writing the kind of lyrics that you do and the kind of background that you come from with your life, and
Yeah,
what we're really going to dig into today is your battle with a chronic illness that has followed you for over half of your life now, and how that has played into your musical capacity and your career so far.
right.
Um, it is you have done a lot of work to really be tapped into that spiritual side, and it's super
Absolutely.
important. And I think the fact that you are doing what you're doing and living a full and pretty healthy life at this point is a very big testament to that plug-in that you've been
Right.
able to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think without that, I think, oh my goodness, where would I be?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
in every aspect of life, really.
Right. Right. Well, you were diagnosed at 19 years of age. I was reading about this in an article that was done on you just recently. 2 semesters into college, so a new college student, you were
Yeah.
diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Right.
And yeah, for those that don't know, it's a chronic illness that it's not something that goes away. It's
No,
something that you have to manage.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So you were hospitalized, you've had numerous surgeries, transfusions, all while pursuing your college, obviously finishing college,
Yeah.
and then also pursuing your musical career with your singing and songwriting. So I'm interested to know a little bit more about how all that came about too. But can we I'm going to put that over on the side for just a second. I want to go back to how you got interested in music and when you knew that that was the path that you wanted to follow.
So I'm going to grab something really quick off my
Yeah.
wall that kind of
Okay.
that question. For the
Okay. I'm
listening,
excited.
you will describe it to you.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. I love it. I love it when guests bring in, it's like show and tell. It's
It is. Yeah, 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 yeah. So here is like a picture of me.
oh, you're so
Oh my,
little.
I was so little. I was probably 3, maybe.
Oh, oh, look at you with the headphones on. You're singing into mic. You were so tiny in front of a big, huge stereo component. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that was
is
my
that?
so that was my grandfather's basement,
Oh,
and my brother actually had that picture made for me. He found the
oh,
old like Polaroid at my dad's and said, "I'm going to give this to sis." So it's
oh, I
really
love that.
cool. But I have that in my music room on my music room wall,
Yeah.
and kind of definitely as a reminder to me, um, like it's just kind of always been a
Hmm.
part of me. Um, I I don't ever remember making a conscious decision
Got it.
that this is what I'm going to do. It was something that I just knew that I was going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I didn't have a choice.
Well, but I think too, like when you say it's the knowing that was just there. So it wasn't like you woke up one day and went, "Oh, I'm now going to choose to do this." It's just a it's an it's something that you're definitely it's a formidable piece of you that is not going away.
That's right. Whether
Yeah.
or not, the masses ever know my name,
Yeah.
whether or not I ever have a hit single, which I hope I do.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, songs are just, it's just something that I've always been fascinated with.
Yeah.
So and I feel very strongly about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
For
hope
sure.
that I have something that resonates with a lot of people eventually. Whether
Yeah.
or not I'm singing it or somebody else is singing it makes no difference to me. But,
Right. Right.
um but it's definitely just something I was brought up in a musical family, but at 3 years old, like, when that picture was taken, that's not something that somebody can just kind of force on you.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
that was
Mm-mm.
something that, like I said, it was just in me that I gravitated towards,
Yeah.
and it's just always been there. It's always been there. I mean, I will say, to quote unquote, to save me, really, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
there, in which we, I don't know how deep we want to go into some of the stuff, but like, for, a lot of my youth, my formative years, there was a lot of turmoil in the home.
Yeah.
And I just remember, what I did, my safe haven was in my room, in my floor, poring over lyrics and liner notes. And just, for hours and hours and hours and hours. That was just how I spent my time.
Yeah.
Listening to music and singing to music and learning lyrics and writing lyrics. And that's just what I did.
Right.
And everything else could really just fall away in that time.
It's your safe place.
Yep. Always been my safe place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Well, I love the fact that you knew that that's such a big part of you, and that you naturally gravitated to that piece that quote saved you. Tell me a little bit more about what that meant to you after you were diagnosed with Crohn's disease, because I know there had to have been symptoms and different things happening before your actual diagnosis happened, and you were still musically working towards this goal and going into college and everything that followed it as well. So give me a little bit of that feeling and that background of what music meant to you during that piece, because that had to have been a very dark and scary time at that point for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had symptoms for about a year.
Okay.
When I was diagnosed. So, and that started with just gastrointestinal upset.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember like having the worst bathroom experiences. Well, and it was just something that, you felt like you had a stomach bug.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't shake it.
Okay.
And this went on, the first kind of flare was a couple of weeks. And then from there, it just, progressively got worse. And a lot of bloating, a lot of, pain, really, cramping and, nausea, vomiting, sometimes blood in the stools. I mean, all the range of symptoms with any digestive disease,
Right.
And so, they thought I might have had like not say a worm, but like
a parasite of some sort.
Parasite, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word. Like a parasite, so, put me on antibiotics and everything, like nothing really helped.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was 2 semesters into college, but when I graduated high school, and 2 weeks later, I was on the road touring, like doing music, because I was on a scholarship to Lee University. And they have a group called Voices of Lee. It's an a cappella group.
Mm-hmm.
Very small, intimate. I think there were 12 of us at the time. And so, they loaded us up on a bus and we toured the country all summer.
Right.
And, I was starting to have these symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, like, graduating high school, going into college. I mean, that's huge. I felt like
it's a huge transition period.
Right. And so, and then on top of that, not sure what that was. Sorry. It's okay, buddy. And my little Jack Russell over here is on high alert.
He is. Sweet buddy. Oh, look at that buddy.
Rah, come here. He's my protector.
Yes, absolutely.
But anyways, so a huge transition time. And I have since learned that a lot of people do get diagnosed with digestive illnesses at those times of life transition. Like
that's so interesting.
Something like that. There's a huge amount of stress. And so anyway, so it was during that time I got really sick. And so that whole summer and then two semesters into college before I was actually diagnosed.
Yeah.
But when I was diagnosed, I just remember I had a colonoscopy, which
Mhm.
in itself was terrifying because
Right.
I'm like
It's terrifying for anybody, but yet you think about how old you were when you were going through that. I
19
mean,
years old, like 18, 19 years old.
yeah.
And so I still remember prepping for my first colonoscopy. I was
Uh,
scared to death to drink that
to drink the drink.
stuff,
Yeah.
mainly because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
know how my body was going to react to it,
Right.
Um,
Right.
so anyway, but I got through it, but I do remember waking up from the anesthesia, and my doctor at the time came in and he said, you have Crohn's disease. And
Mhm.
actually at first he thought I had UC and Crohn's.
Oh, so
Uh,
colitis, yeah, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's together.
Right. It was later determined that I only had Crohn's disease, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, One is bad enough.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Um,
not go for 2.
right, exactly. And so,
Mhm.
but I had never heard of Crohn's disease.
Mhm.
Had
Yeah.
never heard of it before in my life. And um I just remember staying in bed for recovering from the colonoscopy. First of all, you're kind of wiped out,
Right.
and
Right.
recovering from the anesthesia. So I was pretty out of it, for that next day or two. But I also just remember feeling like there was and now I know, well, that's depression, but there was this
Mhm.
huge dark cloud that just
Mm.
came over me and what I felt like my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Even though he told me, my doctor told me, he said, you do have Crohn's disease, but with medication,
Yes.
you will be able to have a normal life.
Right.
I would like to talk to that doctor today and tell him differently.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you know this was not
No,
normal.
not really normal, okay? What I'm
Not yeah, not
doing
in my
is
plans.
normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really interesting because it really speaks to the proficiency of our bodies. That you said that happens. Those diagnoses of some of those illnesses like Crohn's or other gastro diseases, chronic diseases, happen at critical times when there's a lot of stress happening. It just really shows what your body has been processing and hanging on to. And it's like, stop. I can't do this anymore. Not, I can't hold this anymore. We have to throw a red flag up here and address this now. Did
That's right.
you talked a little bit just there about the kind of the black cloud, the depression that kind of came along with that. Is
Yeah.
that something that you feel it weaves in and out yet still if you have any kind of issues health wise? Or is that something that you feel like since you've gone through so much as you've gone through, you've been able to basically flex that muscle, if you will, and figure out okay, I understand what this is and I understand where my headspace is and what I need to do to take care of myself in that way? Or do you still struggle with those different situations, if you will?
Yeah. So I will say that my depression and anxiety through having a chronic illness through the years, it has been a real struggle. I mean, and that's an issue in and of itself apart
Yeah.
from Crohn's, but definitely the two can feed off of one another, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I will say that I'm far less anxious and depressed than I used to be. And like
Yeah.
you said, I mean, I have gone through quite a bit. And so I know when I'm headed into a headspace that's not good, you know.
Right.
And by and large, you know, I stay away from those places
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, when you
but,
know it,
but I've
you know.
also had, like 15 years of therapy too.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which I mean is crucial. I
Yeah.
feel like to managing this and just becoming aware, right? Just
Yeah.
becoming
Yeah.
self-aware. And also We spoke briefly about this before we came on to, I am now married, which I waited till I was almost 40 years old before I got married.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad that you did because you found the absolutely most amazingly perfect person for you.
Well, I did. He may not be perfect, but he's perfect for me.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
but with that said, in relation to the anxiety and depression, our spouses, they are our mirrors,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so when I am, sometimes I may not realize how withdrawn I'm starting to be if
Okay.
I've had an off week or something. But he tells me, like,
Oh,
you're not here,
oh, I
like,
love that, Charlsey.
yeah. And so that helps me kind of go, oh, you know what? And you know what? I've really kind of felt icky. I bet that's why I'm not as present as,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
that,
it's beautiful. That's a really, and I'm just gonna say, with as many people as I've paths of as I have crossed, that's a really unique thing in a relationship, FYI. Yeah. That's so
well,
great.
I consider, I mean, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for him. And
Mhm.
so he definitely has a way of keeping me, um, present and grounded
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and more aware than I would be on my own,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
love the idea of being present. I
Yeah.
think that's probably the biggest takeaway from what you just said for me is that staying in that present space really gives you perspective in terms of not not putting your car in like high speed and just like grrr, like
That's
taking
right.
off. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can get caught so much in that dialogue and in that story that goes in through our head from our past experiences. And I know,
A
um,
1,000%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when we get stuck in that, it's just like a racehorse. It's just like off to
Right.
the races we go. Yeah.
That's right.
And then it's really hard to pull yourself back and go, oh, okay, here I am without doing a lot of collateral damage in the process.
That's exactly right. And
Mhm,
I will say that, that's something we have had to work on though. That's not
mhm.
something that we both came into this marriage being able to do.
Yeah,
Because he went through a decade-long marriage that um was not great,
right.
or not very, especially not with communication.
Yeah.
And I, again, single for almost 40 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was used to being extremely independent and,
Yes.
closed off when I needed to be. And so learning to be open and receptive and, for that help, for that insight, and for him learning that it's safe to tell me when
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
behaving in these ways that maybe that don't feel so good to him, but
Yes.
I'm not doing them consciously,
Yeah.
and so you can kind of now bring that to light. So, but that was something that I would say for the first about 3 years of our relationship was hard, but now we're
Right.
at a place where the past couple of years we've been able to really, I think we've grown a lot in being able to communicate those things.
Oh, that's so great. You learn so much about yourself in that process when you're with another person in that way as well. So
That's
much.
right.
If we go back to that time when you were initially diagnosed, like what were some of the different emotions that came up for you and how did you get through them at that point? I know you talked, like I said earlier, just a little bit ago, rather, about music being kind of the thing that saved you. Is that really where do you feel like that was that gift, or did you have a pretty strong connection spiritually at that point, or were there people you were leaning on when you were in the middle of this, family or friends?
So it's very interesting, and oh my God, I could write a book about.
You should. Think it'd be great one.
I
I'd
know.
buy it. I know there's probably a couple thousand listeners hearing this that would buy it too. Here you
Um,
go.
something. I mean, I definitely have thought about. I was saying it in jest right now, just because there's so much to tell about
Yeah.
my history, my spiritual journey, even separate from Crohn's and just all this.
Mhm.
But I mean, obviously, it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting question, and there's so many aspects because, and I think this speaks to me being diagnosed. I mean,
Mhm.
all of these, all like you said, when you hit this kind of wall, this health crisis, or with a chronic illness, it's not something that you may feel like it came on all of a sudden, but it's
Yeah.
been brewing for a long time under the surface.
Right.
It's like a
Right.
volcano, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been there. So the emotional state that I was in, there was a lifetime leading up to
Yeah.
this, right?
Mhm.
So I was raised an extremely religious person.
Mhm.
My father was, and still is, in church, 2 times on Sunday and Wednesday night.
Wow. Yeah.
And so my whole family was and is, very religious. And I say religious because it was all about how it looked,
Mhm.
afraid to say that.
Yeah.
Now,
No, it's true. I think
like,
that's very, very vulnerable of you to say and very, very honest. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like I was trying to do everything right,
Mhm.
even if something didn't feel right personally.
Mm.
So it's like
Yeah.
I thought I had a close relationship, to God. And not to say that I didn't, but I think it was mixed up,
Oh, right.
with what the teachings had been versus what my real relationship
Oh,
spiritually.
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's been a lot of unraveling of, like, talk about letting things fall away, letting
Yeah.
those religious teachings that I grew up with. Some of those beliefs aren't really biblically based, even though
Yeah.
they were preached from a point of that and
Yeah.
authority. So I was spiritual, I was religious, but I was so messed up, I feel like, in what everyone else's perception of me and my spirituality was.
Yeah.
It was just a
Yeah.
really convoluted place. And not to mention, I was also going to a Christian university, which,
Yes.
carries, I'm not saying anything bad about the institution itself, but people are people, right? So,
Correct.
there's going to be hypocrisy and things
Mhm.
like that. But so I was a spiritual person. And
Mhm.
so I definitely is something that I always prayed about. And I always, believed that things were going to get better.
Yeah.
That's definitely faith, I will say, has definitely been a consistent part of this journey. You
Yes.
know,
Because without that, like,
what do you
yeah.
have?
Yeah, and even saying what you said about the entanglement of other people's beliefs kind of becoming yours, and then where do you end and it begins, or vice versa? Where does that end rather and you start, and trying to figure out what the defining pieces are for you
Mhm.
versus what belongs to someone else. That's a hard thing to find yourself. And then when you're in the midst of that constant religiosity kind
Yes.
of situation,
Yeah.
it's really it's it's really interesting to speak about it because you're not dogging it
No.
because it's a part of your life, but it's a really interesting piece that doesn't always fit like we'd want to write it down on a piece of paper. Like it should go like X, Y, and Z.
Right. Yeah. That's not it.
Hmm.
It that's not it at all,
Hmm.
right? And so I was in a place where I guess I was just there was a lot of turmoil there,
Yeah.
and that was manifesting in my body too,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I did have my faith, right?
Right.
But then, my family, they tried to be supportive because I'm trying to remember what the initial question was. So what kind of got me through that initial, the
Yeah.
diagnosis and how I felt. So I had these things, but it was also very, very messy because, I love my family. I love my
Mhm.
mother. But there was a lot of entanglement there,
Yeah. Yeah.
psychologically, spiritually. Um, And, even, and again, not dogging, people that a lot of people that have had IBD things, they don't take medicine and things like
Mhm.
that. And that's fine. Everybody finds what's right for them. But
Right.
I was almost like forced to at first. I mean, I even had a family member say, well, it's all in your head.
Oh,
And
no.
oh yeah. And like kind of like, well, you don't need to take the medicine if you just have enough faith type of thing.
Oh, wow.
So it was really effed up.
Yeah. And you're still a very impressionable teenager.
Right, exactly. That's right.
Wow.
So, and
And I'm
because
just gonna pause for a second because
yeah,
there are, like, people that go through any kind of illness that you can't see. Because I guess, I mean, we could say that Charlesy could be walking down the street and give you a beautiful smile like she has, and you would know nothing is wrong underneath.
right,
That she has this chronic illness that is like in her back pocket that she's dealing with regularly. For someone to say it's in your head that doesn't have the specific feeling for what's going on is that's really hard. That's really hard. That's
it's
really hard.
damaging, it's invalidating.
Oh, right.
I mean, because then that makes you question your own, like,
Yes. Is
everything.
this really in my head? Am I
Right,
making this up?
right.
Yes.
And then like that makes
Yeah.
you question what you're saying, what you're
Oh, yeah.
feeling, what you're believing. So that's what I was dealing with at
Mhm.
first. So it was a lot. And I think for
Mhm.
years I almost, well, I know I was kind of in a denial.
Wow. You were in a denial that this was actually happening and that physically this was going on with you?
Right. So
Wow.
so because of that, it was almost like I can kind of strong arm this myself,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
We're good at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just
I,
gonna muscle our way through it. Yeah.
right.
My husband laughs and we laugh. I say that like tongue in cheek laugh. We kid about my family lineage being that ramming a square peg in a round hole. We're just gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. And
Right.
there's some really good points to that, to being very, very I said the word formidable earlier. I could say it here again too. Formidable about following through and really
Yeah.
owning it and going for it and putting all your strength into that desire and that goal that you're trying to achieve. But oh
Right.
gosh, at the end of the day, like there's a real fine line and a space where you have to go, "Ooh, okay, what's real and what's not real for me."
Right.
And I think what you said a little bit ago, I just really, really love that. Would you so true, so honest, where you start questioning what you're thinking and what's coming out of your mouth based on the
Well, somebody
reactions
said.
and information of other people.
Right. That's right.
Mm.
And and up to that point in my life, like that person that has said that to me, it's like that was the person that I looked to for all my truth, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
And so that was really hard. So it's like, well, if they say that, well, it must be true,
Oh, right.
you know?
Oh.
So that was really hard. And that was really detrimental to my health because it wasn't until, so I went like that for years on and off
Mhm.
with medication, you
Okay.
like if it started to get really bad, then I would go on it, but if not, on and off. So not really taking great care of myself.
Okay.
And again, trying to kind of strong arm my
Yeah.
way through this. Well, it all like came crashing down, right?
Mhm.
In 2005, 2005, 2006. And I had been just really, really, really sick. By this time I was living in Nashville. So,
Mhm.
I was diagnosed. I did get on some medication. I made my way through college. Had a hard time though. Had a
Yeah.
really hard time. Hindsight, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, which actually, I mean, it was the absolutely right thing to do, or else it wouldn't have happened, right?
Right, right.
Um, but I definitely probably pushed harder than I should have
To
on
get through college?
True, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have taken a little longer or something. I'm still
Yeah.
glad that I have my degree, obviously. Um,
Yes.
but um, it was hard. It was really,
Mm.
really hard, but I never once thought about not continuing. That was just
Mhm.
not a question for
Yeah.
me, you know?
Yeah.
Come hell or high water, I was going
Yeah.
to finish, you know, and I was
Yeah.
going to get this music degree, and then I was going to move to Nashville. So
Right.
and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Um, so so I never even though, yes, this was a really, real diagnosis, and it
Mhm.
was something that was really causing me a lot of discomfort and, pain and everything else, like, I never really realistically said, "Well, I'm just not gonna, I'm just not gonna sing. I'm not gonna whatever," you know?
Yeah.
So so I moved to Nashville and, I got I was there 2.5 years or so, and I got really, really, really sick.
Yeah.
And, long story short, I had been to see, my gastroenterologist on, like, a Thursday, and he told me he had done an MRI, and he said,
Mhm.
"You do have a large inflamed portion, of your bowel. And if you get sick over the weekend," he said, "just go straight to the ER."
Oh, wow.
It's almost like he knew that it was coming,
Ugh.
right? And so, sure enough, on Friday night, I got extremely sick. Now, the kind of blessing in that my mom was coming up to Nashville for the weekend.
Okay.
And she got there, and I mean, sorry, I don't want to be gross for people listening, but full disclosure
Yeah.
is that I started vomiting blood.
Yeah.
And of course, then we knew, well, I've got to go straight to the ER.
Right. Right. This is extremely serious right now.
Really
Yeah.
serious, right? And
Yeah.
so I went to the ER. Of course, they admitted me
Mhm.
and got me settled in
Mhm.
finally, but it took a while, and it took I mean, literally I've had nurses tell my mom like they gave me enough medicine to like sedate a large horse. And
Oh,
like my pulse,
wow.
I've been so like keyed up,
Oh, gosh,
um,
Charlsey.
yeah, so it took quite a bit to get me like calmed down and
Mhm.
but they did eventually. And long story short, I was in the hospital that time, I think for about 10 days. And a week of that, it was liquids only, so they wouldn't let me eat.
Mhm.
And I like the first gastro that I saw at I was at Vanderbilt, by the way.
Okay.
And they came in, and the first one was like, "Well, we've got to just take out, your intestines, like, and give you, a bag and everything." And so
Oh, wow.
mom was like, "Oh, can we wait and get another opinion?"
Yeah. Yes. That's kind of a big deal.
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
And so another actually my surgeon, Dr. Muldoon, she came and looked at me and she said, "I just want you to hang out basically for a couple of days. There's a man, Dr. Schwartz, that I think he's coming on call, on duty this weekend, and I want
Mhm.
him to look at you and kind of assess the situation before anybody does anything." Well, Dr.
Right.
David Schwartz is now the head of Vanderbilt IBD.
Okay.
He's, got he had his own wing and research, and he's like one of the rock stars of digestive disease in the country. So,
Yes.
cutting edge, the latest and greatest treatments, and the kindest doctor, except for
Oh,
my husband's uncle, who is also now my primary care physician. But he and Dr. Short, the two nicest, doctors I've ever known in my life.
oh, that's
Of course,
perfect.
yeah, I mean, his table bedside manners are. He's just such a kind individual. Really cares.
Yeah.
You know that he really cares about you.
Right. Right.
And so he came and basically was like, "Guys, why aren't you letting her eat?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Will you please give her some food and see how she tolerates it?"
Yeah.
He did.
Because you'd been there for how many days at that point? Closing on a week?
A week
Yeah.
at that point, and it did not have like TPN nutrition. So I literally was just on IV. I
Oh,
was
wow.
lost a lot of weight and
Yeah.
very weak. But anyway, so I was able to eat, and he's like, "Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you home,
Yeah.
and we are going to put you on a low residue diet. Just don't go eat a salad, to kill yourself because you've got some issues. Obviously, at that
Mhm.
point, I had like holes in my intestine.
Mm.
I had a lot of things wrong there, but he said we're going to put you on a new medication and we're going to get this inflammation down as much as we can,
Yes.
so that when we go in, because that was inevitable, I was going to have a surgery. But he's
Mhm.
like, let's take the least amount that we have to.
Right.
So
Perfect. Mhm.
yeah. So they did, and they went in and they took about 4.5 feet out of
Okay.
my small intestine, but still that was nothing compared to the initial,
The initial doctor that wanted to take.
the one to take everything out.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And he has been my doctor ever since.
Oh, yeah, he saved such a big piece of you right there.
Really,
On all levels,
really
really,
did. He really did. He really did. And I will say this, I have now had 3 major abdominal surgeries or
Okay.
collective surgeries.
Okay.
Um, the last 2 were really, I'm not gonna say flukes, but they kind of were. So a
Okay.
year after this major first surgery, I started losing blood.
Okay.
And like I just went to the bathroom one morning and there was like,
Yeah.
what's happening
What's
here?
happening? Yeah.
Long story short, a blood vessel had ruptured at the
Oh.
site of the previous surgery.
Oh,
So
wow.
when they put, the anastomosis, where they put, the sections of my intestine back together,
Mhm.
a blood vessel there burst.
Okay.
So they tried to cauterize it by going in through a colonoscopy and
Yeah.
doing that. That didn't work. So after, I think I had 2 colonoscopies within 3 days of each other.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot. Like,
It it is.
that's
It
so
is.
much.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
after, so they tried to clip it one time, they tried to cauterize it one time, and then after the second attempt to make it stop, and it didn't, they wanted to go in a third time. I said, no, you're not. If
Yeah.
you need to go in, you need to cut me open and just deal with.
Yeah. I'm done messing around with this. Yeah.
That's right. And so that's what happened. So I had to have another open surgery as to where
Mhm.
they could fix that site. So that
Mm.
was real. And they were like, this happens to maybe, I mean, like one person every year. I mean,
What?
it was just really a small, Dr. Schwartz, like, of course it would happen to you.
The
But
blood vessel is like a very odd thing you're saying.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
for it to happen like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was very unfortunate, but at least it was, it wasn't from like inflammation or anything like
Yes.
that.
Yes. It was totally something unrelated,
That's
but
exactly.
related. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
So anyway, I mean, I could go on and on, but the most recent surgery, and we can talk more about that because that really leads into where I am today.
Yes.
This third surgery I got extremely ill, in which we can. I left Nashville after a while, and
Okay.
it was when I was traveling, and
Okay.
I got really sick.
Yeah.
And long story short, I had to have a third surgery. And when they went in, they thought that I just had this massive amount of inflammation, and
Mhm.
that, not saying that I didn't have any inflammation, which I did, but it was not. This was not what was causing the issue.
Okay.
Um, there's like a protective layer of fat
Mhm.
essentially that covers your internal organs,
Mhm. Yes.
and it had wrapped itself around my small intestine at 2 different locations.
Oh my goodness.
So it was literally, so I was having very frequent, like every month, obstructions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that
Because
went.
everything was it was entangled.
Yes,
Talk about entangled.
yes, yeah, right.
Wow. That's the name of your book, by the way.
I love it. Oh, that gives me cold
There it
chills.
goes. It's entangled.
That
There you go.
literally gives me cold.
I
Makes
can't wait
me
till you
so.
write it. Yes, let's go. Let's go, Charlie.
Oh, I'm serious, Dawn. Like I still have cold chills.
I'm
Wow.
serious too.
Yeah.
I'm that just yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, me too. Like still hair on end. Um,
So
oh
all
my,
of that was wrapped up.
all that was wrapped up.
I
Wow.
mean, do you look back at all of this and think, well, okay, so I'm probably 99% positive that there was moments and you're like, why me?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Why me?
Hmm.
What did you do in those why me things?
Pretty
Because as
early
I'm sitting
on.
here talking to you, you're very, very upbeat about everything, but you're also very matter of fact about everything. And I think when we deal with hard issues in our lives as people in general, you can sit in your shit all day long and not move. Or you can say, all right, I'm here. It's happening. I get it. All right, I have a choice. I can sit or I can move. And I feel like you're the movable kind.
Yeah.
You're the movable one.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit more about that. When you were in that why me kind of place, what did you do to get yourself moving?
I got help.
Mm, yeah.
I got help.
Yeah.
And you were part of that.
Oh,
No, I'm serious.
no, sweet.
Um, yeah, I mean, in addition to my medical treatment and cognitive behavior therapy that I went through with
Yeah.
my Nashville therapist, I started trying to find anything that I could do to add to that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I went to yoga.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yoga was huge
Yeah.
in
Very grounding. Yeah.
very grounding and very much like getting me back connected to myself,
Yes. Yeah.
like that mind body connection, obviously, but it was very, very grounding for me
Yeah.
and very helpful. And through that, I met you
Yeah.
and acupuncture. So I started trying other forms modalities,
Yeah.
um, to try to help me
Right.
in this journey, and I learned a lot about myself in that journey.
For sure.
And so I would say that that was it. Like, I just I reached out for help,
Yeah.
and um,
Was that something that was hard for you to do based on where you came from? Like, you're talking
extremely.
about that I can take a very independent kind of person in general, and that we're just going to go through it. We're going to go through it. We're not going to stop along the way to look at it. We're just going to go straight through it.
Yeah, I remember going to my first yoga class.
Mhm.
I was terrified.
Okay.
I don't know why I was terrified, but I was.
Yeah.
I was terrified.
Uh,
And I think this is funny, funnily enough, like that whole like religion and deep south, they're like, don't get messed up in that.
right.
Uh, you know, like
Yeah, that's bad stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Bad juju
exactly.
there.
So
Yeah.
no, I mean, as silly as it sounds, you're overcoming that kind of backwards kind of very rudimentary thought patterns,
Yeah. Yeah.
that were like, preached
That
at you.
programming. That
Yeah,
that programming.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I'm almost like
Mhm.
brainwashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everything outside your, 200 seat church is like, the devil, right?
Right. Right.
So, but of course, I mean, so I think that subconsciously I was dealing with some of that,
Yeah.
like what am I getting myself into? But I just
Mhm.
remember, well, first of all, talk about like feeling a spiritual connection. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the strongest spiritual connections I have is when I'm practicing yoga. Like,
Right.
when I'm really into my body and, like
Mhm.
just I don't know, you tap into your intuition, and
Yes, all of it. All of it.
all
Yeah.
of it just comes together, and I've felt very much a spiritual presence in practicing
Yeah.
yoga through the years. But I remember getting into child's pose, of course, the first child's pose I had ever been in. And I remember the teacher saying, basically like, talking about just self-love, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
it
That
was
was your first class.
like my first class.
I
And
just feels.
yeah. And when she said, I can't even remember exactly the quote that she said, but it definitely was like allowing yourself to take care of yourself, to love yourself,
Mhm.
hug yourself,
Mm.
I wept. I
Oh,
mean, something in me immediately released,
yeah. Yeah.
And so that was my first, yoga class. So of course I was hooked after that, like
Yes. More. Give me more.
more
Yeah.
of this good stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and I still practice today. I don't
Yeah.
teach it anymore, but I still practice.
Mhm.
Um, and anyway, so what was the question again?
Oh, good. Keep going because you are dropping truth bombs left and right here. I love it. Basically, th- we'll just continue on.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh my goodness.
I just think that I love what you spoke to about being when you come from that place of that very precise, controlled, kind of boxy kind of space that you were raised in. And when you open up your box and go, there's more. Wow. And that connectivity that you can find that really can bring you closer to your spirituality. I've had the same conversation with so many people about what is this energetic practice of yoga or anything esoteric or anything different than what we can see. It's faith, and having it's that connection to having you really dive into your stuff, your being, your center,
Right.
your spiritual
Yeah.
seat, if you will.
Right.
And it does, like, I don't think anybody can say, even if it's a 200 person congregation, not all 200 people in there are different, you
That's right.
know,
That's right.
and different strokes for different folks to find your way to your spirituality. As
That's right.
long as you are living in that path that is morally, ethically, and responsibly living for yourself and for those around you, you got to put your oxygen mask on first.
That's right. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I do remember the question now. You were talking about
Okay.
getting stuck in their stuff or
Yeah.
moving, you know.
Yes.
So yoga was instrumental, I feel like, in helping me move. And that's interesting because yoga, I mean, it definitely energetically works to clear
Right. Right.
blockages and whatnot.
Yes.
And I feel like it did. It got me moving. It got me moving in a lot of ways. I remember after I started yoga, it wasn't too far after that I literally moved physical locations and bought my first house, which you also were around when that happened.
Yes. I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and then acupuncture was really helpful in
Mhm.
shifting energy, and with that shift in energy comes physical manifestations of that,
Yeah.
you know?
I think that's something that we don't give enough premise to. And I think just because my kind of hit on that is that we can't see it. So it doesn't really make sense. And that if we're raised in a place where it's X, it's Y, and it's Z, even though we can't see it, we've been told that from a very young age,
Mhm.
then believing anything outside of those confines is really hard for us. And
Yeah.
it's challenging. But when we can find those things that really resonate with us, it makes us a better person to contribute then to that community for wherever we are.
Right.
And moving and allowing your body to find those spaces does release so many different things and create physical manifestations for your being that is extremely helpful to your
Right.
overall health and well-being. I know, like, you hear so many different people talk about the positive stuff that has helped get them through or has helped heal different pieces of them, and the power of prayer. And when I think of the power of prayer, I think of it being a very positive thing. And
Absolutely.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very, very uplifting kind of thing. And when you put those kind of intentions out and around and inside and through you, then you have nothing to lose,
That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
nothing to lose,
Absolutely.
everything to gain,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything to gain. What was your hardest piece through all of this so far?
Wow. What was the hardest piece?
I mean, I know you could probably say physically, we could talk about the surgeries, but I feel like there's,
I feel like okay, well, letting go.
oh,
Letting go of things that, don't serve you well, which still to this day, I write, I breathe in that which is good and I
yeah,
exhale, releasing that which no longer serves me well, whatever
yeah,
that is,
yeah.
And, it's very interesting. I'm at a very interesting point in my life right now where, like, I'm not going to say I was like Job, but like where I let go. No, no, no. I mean, like, I'll back up a little bit. Like in 2015, after being in Nashville for about 13 years,
Mhm.
I decided to leave Nashville because I
Mm,
did feel very, very strongly that that was the right thing for me to do
yeah.
at the time. I mean, without a doubt. And so I followed that intuition, and I went on an amazing journey.
Mhm.
Traveled to Europe for several months. I ended up going to Hawaii and living there for almost a year.
Yes.
And that is when I got sick and the things had wrapped around my intestines, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I got really sick, I mean, when I say sick, before that third surgery, I mean, I had swollen, like I was so anemic and like
Mhm.
so. I mean, I was completely depleted because I was having these obstructions all the time. So like
Right.
my legs looked like the Michelin Man. Like it was so, and
Wow.
for those of you who don't see me, I'm 112 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, you're a very petite person in the
So
first
I
place.
had
Mhm.
massive swelling, which was so dangerous. Like I was at
Mhm.
high level stroke risk. So I would have to lay flat on my back with my legs elevated for most of the days. Like I probably didn't drive for about 4 months whenever
Wow.
I got real. Yeah, this was the lowest of the low. After, I mean, of everything I'd been through. So, and I had had like the most amazing time leading up to that. I was feeling
Mhm.
well. I was doing good and I traveled the world and was living in Hawaii. And anyway, but I have been doing a ton of like uh, acupuncture, really
Yeah.
was something to keep everything in control, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
um, but all of a sudden those things weren't working anymore for me.
Mhm.
And so I got sick and then we realized that this was happening in my, well, we didn't realize this was happening until the surgery, but like I was just very sick for
Mhm.
8 to 10 months. And
Mhm.
a large part of that was spent literally on my back.
Mhm.
Well, because I was so sick, I couldn't work.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I was at my mom's house as, a 36-year-old, um, completely flat on my back because I had moved to Hawaii, like when I left there, everything was left there. I had
Yeah.
no car here. I had no nothing here. I had a storage space full of furniture that I had left in Nashville. And so I came back. I was the sickest I had ever been in my
Mhm.
life. Um, and literally, I mean, was going through, any savings that I had had, medical
Mm.
bills, everything was going out the door. So pretty much, I mean, I'll just be honest, like penniless
Yeah.
and in the weakest, the sickest I had ever been,
Wow.
in the most pain I had ever been. At one point, because of all of the nutrient loss, I lost about, I would say, maybe not quite, anywhere from a third to like half of my hair.
Oh, wow.
It would just come out. I mean, like I remember one morning I brushed my hair and like it almost filled up the trash can, and I threw the hairbrush and knocked a hole in the wall because I was so frustrated. I
I'm
was
so
so
sorry.
frustrated.
Mhm.
No, I mean, so yeah, there have been times that I've been like, why God, I want to die. I mean,
Yeah. Why me? Why
and
me?
I had
Yeah.
lost so much weight that like I couldn't look at myself in the mirror
Oh,
because
wow.
I was like, I mean, I looked extremely anorexic, and because
Yeah.
I was obstructing, so
Yes.
when you
Your
have a
body wasn't getting what it needed at all.
bowel obstruction, nothing can get through. And so
Yeah.
you're not getting nutrients that you
Yeah.
need. And not to mention, it's one of the most painful things you could ever go
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
having them continuously.
Mm.
So that was really hard.
Mhm.
So I had nothing. And
Yeah.
then not only that, but I was no longer in Nashville.
You were
So
back home.
I was back home, the
Mm.
place that I said I would never be,
Oh, too. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And um, after living with my mom for several months, my dad said he has a couple of rental properties. And he said,
Mhm.
if you want to move in there, like there's one available and it's for you.
Okay.
And so I was like, praise Jesus.
Yes. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and I was really down, like depression definitely set in during that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and just feeling like I couldn't, it was hard for me to see a way out. I was under the most amount of pressure I had ever
Mm.
been in my life because
Mhm.
I wasn't working. I didn't have health insurance. I had a massive amount of of bills piling up from all
Yeah.
the doctor and ER visits.
Right.
Every money I did have went straight to that. And again, I couldn't work. I tried to apply for assistance, like government
Yeah.
assistance, but because I didn't anticipate me not being able to work for like 3 years, is what they, wanted you to be able to say that you couldn't do in order to get money. So like I couldn't get that.
You couldn't get anything.
I
Yeah.
couldn't do anything. And on top of that, like my dad did give me a place to live,
Mhm.
and my mom too, but financially, like I didn't ask them for a dime through
Yeah.
this whole. So, but I felt like I really felt like I was I'm not going to say the whole coal being pressed down into
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
diamond type of thing.
Yeah.
It was the most psychological pressure,
Yeah.
emotional pressure, like physical pressure I've ever been under in my life.
Mm. Everything all at once right there.
Everything.
Mhm.
And I had completely let go. Like anything that gave me identity
Mhm.
was no longer.
Yeah.
I
You were stripped of everything basically.
of everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I'm talking about, I remember when I had like $2 in the bank account, going to the
God.
Dollar Tree to buy like a little, soup or whatever that I could. I'm not kidding you.
Ah.
Not kidding you.
What was the turning point
Ooh.
for getting you from that
You know
place?
what? You know what? Oh, okay. Now I had started. I did start substitute teaching because I was
Okay.
like, "What the hell can I do here? I'm in freaking backwoods Georgia. Sorry, excuse
Yeah.
my language, but I'm
Yeah.
like, are you effing kidding me, God?
Yeah.
Here I am. Like all my
Mhm.
friends are in Nashville or in Hawaii or wherever. Um,
Mhm.
my my community, my healing
Right.
community, they're in Nashville.
Yeah.
But no longer could I depend on that, right?
Mhm.
You talk about
Mhm.
having to look inside.
Right.
So, it was, I felt worthless. I felt ashamed. I felt all those things. And I had to learn. I mean, my worth is not what I have.
Yes,
Or
correct.
You know, my worth is not, I mean, who my friends are. It's not anything external. That's
Yeah.
not who I am. That doesn't make me worthy of my love. Like
Yeah.
I am worthy of loving myself just because I exist. I am a creation of God.
Yes.
I am here. That's all. Like
Yeah.
that's all I need to know to be valid in this world, right?
Right. Right.
So, but I don't know, like everything had to be stripped away for,
For you to get to that point where
yeah,
where you really could connect with that whole thought.
that's right.
Yeah.
And to know that, like, I mean, life is worth living, Like,
Oh,
think
yeah.
about depression setting in, and it's like, you know, what's the point or whatnot,
Mhm.
but I did have to make that decision
Mhm.
because there were moments during all this I definitely didn't feel like going.
Right.
But I mean, you talk about like staying stuck, or, I said, well, life has to be worth living. I wouldn't be here. Right. So,
Yeah.
um,
But
and
when you're in it, how hard is that concept to really believe and to really buy into?
right. I would say fairly difficult.
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's, I don't know. I think I'm really stubborn.
Okay, so let's go to that and speak to that for a minute because that's not always a negative.
No, it's not. That's right. That's right. If I didn't have that aspect of my personality, I definitely would not be in the place that I am today.
Sure. Absolutely believe you 100%. Mhm. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
w- I
Stubborn's
absolutely.
good.
So what I did was I started making baby steps. I
Mhm.
started. I was substitute teaching, and not long after that, I was like, you know what? And of course, that didn't pay very much, but
Yeah.
there's a local performing arts center here in Dalton, Georgia, and well, a multidisciplinary arts center.
Okay.
Visual arts, dance, the whole nine. And I had taught there before I went to college, or
Okay.
before I graduated college, and in the summer and stuff. Anyway, and I went there when I was little too. But I was like, you know what? I mean, I am a musician, and like
Yeah.
maybe I could go teach there or something.
Yeah.
So I ended up becoming their music director.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, I just walked in.
Baby
I was
baby steps.
like, here's who I am,
Yeah.
and this is my experience, and what can I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I definitely, you know what? It's funny because like maybe I don't give myself enough credit. Like I definitely am a self starter and a go getter, right? Like
Yes.
so.
Yes.
I, I was not satisfied just sitting, just going, yeah, okay, I'm going to teach for the rest of my life. No, I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I knew one person there, and so I reached out, and then I'll say the rest is kind of history because I met the director there, and they immediately hired me back on, and
Uh-huh.
but quickly I became a director of an aspect there, and
Yeah.
started handling all the concerts in Dalton and booking them and all the music, and that was wonderful. It was great. But so I was working there, and then I had the other surgery,
Mhm.
to which they found out what was happening. And I was in a recovery period, and I was in Nashville, Vanderbilt, recovering. And this is how so I let go of everything, right? I was
Right.
destitute. There was nothing. I started rebuilding a little bit, had the surgery, and then I'm at another crossroads. I'm like, okay, well, I'm really okay. I've had my surgery now. I should be back on the mend. We know what was wrong. I've got a decent job now. It's
Mm-hmm.
in the arts. It's good, but do I want to move back to Nashville?
Mm.
So it's like almost like a full circle thing,
Yeah.
I had I was staying in Nashville for the few weeks following my surgery because it was at Vanderbilt. If anything
Yes.
arose, I needed to be close
Right.
to my doctors. And so I was staying with a dear friend of mine. And, we were talking, and she's a single lady now. Her kids are out of the house, and she has way much more house than she needs. And she's like,
Uh-huh.
you come and live with me till you get back on your feet, just come back to Nashville.
Oh.
And so I was seriously considering it.
Uh-huh.
But I was like, well, at the end of my recovery period, there was this major outdoor concert that I had facilitated through the organization, and that was my work. It wasn't even work. I was hanging out with musicians. I'm fine,
Right. Like,
but
I love my
coordinating the talent here. So, anyway, but I was there. So I was like, I gotta go back. I gotta do this work, and I was there, and a friend of mine was talking to two guys. A friend of mine was the president of the chamber, and he was talking to another guy, and this guy caught my eye. And I was like, well, he's kind of cute, and I haven't seen him around before.
Okay.
So, and here I'm fresh out of surgery, whatever.
Yeah.
And still thinking, well, maybe I'm going to move back to Nashville, and I keep going back to my friend to talk to this other guy,
Yeah.
who is now my husband.
Oh, because you went back.
Well, I had to for work, but so, but the craziest thing is he was at the time the chairman of the board at the nonprofit organization where I was employed at. I didn't know this at the time, but he knew all about who I was.
Oh, wow. Do you guys talk about that now?
We do.
Yeah, but that's a funny that's got to be a really funny conversation.
Yeah, it is. And he's like, I knew who you were, and you were way too cool for me. You still are way too cool for me,
Oh, bless him. Oh, I love it.
So, long story short, met this cute guy. We almost immediately started dating.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. We were married within a year.
Oh.
And but through that, it has come, I guess, a little bit, full circle, because I signed my first distribution deal last summer in Nashville.
Okay. Yes.
So all the things that, like, I've got my second single to radio now.
Right.
Health wise, I'm probably the healthiest I've been in decades.
Oh, wonderful.
Emotionally, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not sad anymore, like, I'm in a good place. I'm in a healthy relationship.
Yes.
In my life,
and you have beautiful support around you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we are blessed beyond measure, like, and it's just, but I don't know, like, I definitely, I let go of I had to let go of every single thing. And I would say life is now better than I probably could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting saying that a therapist has always said in my life. The pain of change is worse than the pain of staying the same.
Yep.
And it's really, if you think about that, it's like we are so conditioned to stay in that vein of yuck because it's what we know. And doing something different would be so, so hard because we are such creatures of wanting to have control and knowing what the outcome is going to be, how it's going to go, what it's going to look like, what color it's going to be, what kind of bow it's going to be wrapped with, all the things. And on the other side of letting go is really
everything you want.
The purposes that you're looking for. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, It's just very interesting. And so long I held on to all these things that I felt like I had to do. Like, oh my God, I've got to teach like 40 hours a week to keep the lights on
Mm.
and stuff, instead of doing the things I really wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Like,
things that were in your heart and the things that were really that were born in within you that you talked about from age 3, from the picture that you showed at the beginning of our conversation.
that's right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. So I eventually made the decision to step away from working at the Creative Arts Guild so that I
Mhm.
could redirect my attention back to music for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fast forward, this past fall, I just released my first album of all original music,
Yes.
and it's been
Called Scars of Mine,
Stars of Mine. Yeah.
and
And
it's on Spotify.
Spotify, it's on everywhere. You
Yeah.
can stream it. Yeah, Charlsey Etheridge, Scars of Mine. And it has been really well received, and a lot of, the reviews that we've had from the record are really, they really honed in on my songwriting ability, which
Mhm.
is something
Yeah.
for a long time I didn't have a lot of faith in,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
because, well, it's interesting. My grandfather, I remember, and I'm not afraid to say it. Sorry, family, throwing y'all under the bus, but you said it. But he was like, you're not a songwriter, you're a singer,
Oh, gosh.
and
Well,
right,
I was just gonna say, you probably had to, like, sort through all of that programmed
yeah,
thought and philosophy that wasn't even yours
that's right.
to begin with,
Yeah, that's right.
to feel like, "Okay, yeah, I," and then you have other people saying, "Well, you're a really great songwriter. You
Yes.
have a real gift for that. You have a real knack for that."
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they kept on going back to, all the
Mhm.
reviews,
Mhm.
about, um, just what a breath of fresh air it is, and
Yes.
that it's really thoughtful and provoking, and, basically, if I want to, I can take my place if I want to, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, and that was
Yeah.
extremely validating for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say it's something that in my heart that has always, I could say it's been there,
Mhm.
but to have that validation,
Yeah.
definitely, I'm not gonna say that it didn't mean anything, because it has meant a lot,
Yeah. It's
you
being
know?
acknowledged for what it
Yeah,
is that you bring to the table,
exactly. Yeah,
being
and
acknowledged for that passion.
right, and again, going back to, like, your worth and all that,
Yeah.
you can't base that on what people say, but, um, that validation for me, has been well received, and it's
Mhm.
just been, yeah, validating, and almost like, just kind of reaffirming that I'm on the right path,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
you know what? I'm gonna go a step further and say you really deserved that.
Mm,
You really deserve that. Yeah.
thank you.
I think all of us do,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think especially if you look through that honesty that you've just given us about those rock bottom places that you've been on everything. I'm not just talking about mentally, we're talking about physically,
Yeah.
spiritually, all of it. You
Yeah.
you deserve to reap the fruits of your labors. So,
Thank you. Oh,
you're
thank
welcome.
you. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Absolutely. It's true. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't. Yeah. And for now, you are healthy right now, right? You're
Yeah,
good.
I am, and I feel like in regards to music, and I feel like I'm just getting started,
Oh,
you know?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
So in 5 years from now, what are your plans? If you could flash forward and
If I
say,
could
"This is
flash
what I'd
forward
love."
and, eh eh you know, flash forward, and, I just, to be a, just a really respected writer in the music community,
Yes.
and, I just, I wanna, take my place there,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just, um, again, somewhere I feel like in my heart, it's in my heart,
Mhm.
to be that. I don't think it's by chance that when I first moved to Nashville, one of my mentors was Harley Allen, and he was a crude man, but
Yeah.
what a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
Brilliant writer. And he said, Charlsey, fame will come and go. It will, period.
Right.
But you can always write, you know?
Yeah.
And so
So
I feel like
that can't be taken away from you ever.
can't
Yeah.
ever, no matter what. And so, but I feel like that seed was planted, you know?
Oh,
So
meaningful. So meaningful. And that's validating in a sense as well.
yeah,
You know, it's
right,
validating your gift and validating your passion
right.
and allowing you to look for the forest beyond the trees.
Yeah,
The tree,
that's right.
for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think it's amazing what you're doing. I'm so happy that you are well
Thank
and
you.
that you are here. Yeah. She's like, I am too. Yeah.
Yeah, I am so happy about that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And that you are in a relationship that is supportive and loving and endearing for both of you and the growth that you've had, that you continue to have and you will continue to have.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. And
Yeah.
that speaks to your soul's goals, if you will.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
were there all along. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's okay for us to do some rapid fire questions to kind of show another side of you? I love doing this to wrap up our conversations just because a lot of times we get pretty deep and I want to show.
I need to shake off all the because I went to a dark place I haven't been in a while.
We're letting it go now. Right. Here we go.
Okay. Shake it off.
All right. So I will just forewarn you that because I speak in paragraphs, these quote rapid fire.
I do.
You don't. You're much more brilliant at taking those paragraphs and edit, like we were talking about. Yes, you do a great job of that. It could be a little bit more involved than just simple, quick answers. Just
right.
But we'll do our best. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. What was your favorite subject in school? Could be college, could be elementary school, could be high school, could be any of that.
Mean, oddly enough, just because I felt like it was always easy to me is math.
What?
Yeah.
Math? Oh my gosh. Okay, which math tenet were you really drawn to?
I guess like algebra.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
Charlsey. I'm laughing because I'm so bad at math. It's just my brain, like you are made. I have one kid that is math city. She's like, I got it. And I got another one that's like, I am the English person. I can conjugate a sentence in my speech.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I always enjoyed like creative writing.
Yeah.
But as far as classes go,
math.
It was math. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, just because I just felt like it was like, this is no brainer.
Gosh, it's easy for you. Not for me.
Also odd as a musician, and I mean, jazz musicians are usually good at math, but
oh, right.
Yeah, but yeah,
that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right. Well, I know who to call if my daughter has any trouble with math.
I know it's been a while, but
I feel like you could brush it off pretty quickly, pretty easily. All right. Question number 2: have you ever written a song specifically for someone?
Yes,
many. For you?
For myself?
Or for who?
Well, several.
Okay. What's the most meaningful one? We'll go there.
Well, so I mean, I've written the most recent song. I think the most meaningful song. One of the most meaningful songs I've written is called "A Mother's Love," and I just wrote it with Donnie Ulysses. And she's a wonderful writer and more in the bluegrass genre. But an idea came to me and I just started pondering the mother's love and we rewrote that. And it is a universal song, but I definitely was thinking about my mother as I wrote it. I've also written a song, The Country Proud, that's going to be
getting ready to come out. And actually when this airs, that will be out.
Country Proud. Country Proud I wrote to my dad.
Okay.
I wrote a song called Love is in the Little Things to my husband and we've recorded it, but it hasn't been released yet. So I do like writing songs.
You do specifically for people.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's very touching. Do
yeah,
you express that to them and tell them, "Hey, this is that I was thinking about you when I wrote this," or do you just
absolutely.
kind of let it unfold?
No, I tell them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet. How endearing to have a song written for you.
I mean, I would like it if somebody well, it depends on what they wrote about me, I guess, but
I, I could try to write a song about you. I don't think it would be great because I speak in paragraphs, clearly.
that's okay.
But
Give me
I digress.
long. No.
All right. Question number 3.
Mhm.
Who is your favorite Disney character?
Off the top of my head, Little Mermaid. Don't ask
Yeah.
me why. Yep.
Oh, love that. Love that. Beautiful. Number 4. What is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't have one. I don't like
What?
to sing I'll just be honest, I do not like to sing karaoke.
Okay. Well, I think it's funny because okay, so I've been in the music business for a long time, and
Yep.
I was just out of town a couple weeks ago with a group, and we were walking in this downtown area, and there's this karaoke thing going on, and one of the ladies in the group said to me and to her husband, "Hey, you guys should get out there and do something. You both were musicians for a long time," and he was like, "Well, I will," and I was like, "I no, yeah, no, no, karaoke, no, no." But I have been known to get up there and sing, but no, what have you said no why?
I don't
Interesting.
know. It's just okay, I'm not my husband would disagree with me. Uh, I would like to say I'm not a musical snob.
Okay.
Should
Okay, I'm gonna tell you I am a musical snob.
yeah, he would say, "Yes, you are, Charlesy." Um, but but I just, it's the same reason I guess I'm not I mean, there's a time and place for all things, right?
Yeah,
There really is. And I can respect cover bands, that's fine, but I don't choose to really go listen to them.
yeah,
I don't choose to do a lot of cover songs. I feel like in karaoke is all in that same vein. It's just fine.
right.
It's a form of entertainment. But when I'm doing music, I take it a lot more seriously.
Yeah. It's almost like it's your child, it's your
Yeah,
baby.
it's hard for me to get out of that and just be like, "Oh, we're just having fun," and
Yeah,
I'm just a serious person by nature, to be
yeah.
honest.
Really?
Um, yeah,
I mean, I say that tongue in cheek now as I say that, I'm like, "Okay, I can see the serious part of you." But,
yeah.
like, you're very lighthearted.
I can be. Yeah. And I will say that socially I am,
Okay.
but like from day to day, I mean, yeah, I'm more of a ponderer and
Okay.
like more
Kind of a deep thought, like a thinker
yeah,
kind
like a reader and a
of. Mhm.
let's think about things in life.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's just kind of
absolutely.
how I function.
Yeah.
And I function that way a lot with music. Now, don't get me, I love all kinds of music and I love fun music and,
Yeah.
blues and, Aretha Franklin, all that. Like, adore it, love it. And I'll cut loose and dance in the kitchen and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But also I have a very serious like part of me when it comes to music too.
Totally. Totally. I understand. That
Okay.
makes total sense. Yes. All right. Last question, and then I'll let you go. All
Okay.
right. A little bit deeper than just those quick rapid fire. But what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Oh, okay. One I mentioned about the writing thing with Harley.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Great.
the
Great.
the other one I think is really brilliant. Um, a friend of mine in Dalton, Georgia, um, he said, because I called him one day and I was all upset about it was something work related.
Okay.
And I was at the guild, and small town politics, everybody's getting in everybody's business and everything.
Yep.
And he goes, Charlesy, he said, chickens peck and eagles soar. He
Oh,
said, "You are an eagle." He said, "Do not get caught up in all the little pecking that's going on."
that is such a Southern philosophy. And I'm not from the South originally, but living here for over half of my life now, amen to that.
Right? Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you ever find yourself like getting all caught up in whatever it is, just be like,
I'm
don't
gonna write
don't
I'm
peck
an
with
eagle.
the chickens. Yeah.
Yeah, don't peck with the chickens.
Don't peck
I'm
with
gonna
it.
actually use that to my kids.
Yeah. Good. It's a good one, right?
It's a great one. It brings around a great visual and it really makes it hits home. Hits home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've so adored having this time with you today. Thank you
Me
so much.
too. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope I get to see you sooner than later.
Well, I hope so too. And we should make that happen at least
Yeah.
with coffee at some
Would
point
love that.
and just sit and get to catch up with life and everything that's been going on for the last 10 years.
Exactly. Few years.
A few years. Yes. Guys, everybody go and check it out. CharlseyEtheridgeMusic.com. CharlseyEtheridgeMusic.com. Everything is linked there on her website for you to be able to go online and listen to any of the streaming platforms of any of her music. And all her new releases will be out there as well. So check her out, everybody. Thank you, Charlsey. Have a wonderful rest of your day, okay?
You too.
I will. Bye, girl. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your own story, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love for you to leave a review and to consider following and subscribing to the show. With weekly releases, there is always another interesting story to be heard. I do hope that today's guests and their words have helped to bring some extra light to your day and encouraged you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.